Showtime. Welcome to Financial Fridays. I'm your host, Glen, aka the Intellectual Venture Capitalist. I have gone from investing in stocks to investing in students. Our topic today, buy side versus sell side of the street. What does it mean? What are the characteristics and skills needed? So why should you listen to me? Well, I've got both institutional equity portfolio manager experience. So I was on the buy side when I was part of the senior management team in New Brunswick Investment Management. I was a wee little capital markets associate. I was with Nesbitt Thompson, now known as Nesbitt Burns. And I also have that little CFA charter that often gets your foot in the door. So buy side versus sell side, understanding the employment opportunities out there. I referred you to the Futures Atlantic Symposium, which also talks about those opportunities. Shameless plug, the Student Investment Fund program, which I created and was the flagship of the Center for Financial Studies. We were the first in the Atlantic region. We were profiled in the National Post way back in 1999. We were also profiled in the Globe and Mail because we used or taught the students a very unique hedge fund approach called market neutral. When I left in 2017, we were #1 undergraduate program in Canada in terms of assets under management, with close to 9 million in assets under management. And yes, it was real money. The students got to invest. And with the CFA curriculum embedded in the program, we were one of a kind in the world. So the SIF key performance indicators. The big one we're going to look at today is SIF graduates or careers. Portfolio performance will be looked at on the risk-controlled active management video. The CFA pass rates, we'll take a look at the stairway to employability. University competitions we'll talk later. So here's the capital markets flow chart that we have to know like the back of our hand. On the left-hand side, you've got the issuers. They need the money. These are corporations or governments that need either access to debt or equity or both to meet their capital markets needs. So they need the money. The buy side, they have the money. They're trying to get their best returns so that they have enough money for people when they retire, get their pension funds, or meet certain endowment needs, what have you. The big thing to realize is the buy side, their goal is to get the cheapest equity, most expensive debt or highest yield they can. The issuers, they want to get the cheapest debt, but issue the highest equity. So the point is their goals are diametrically opposed. And who brings them together but an investment bank? Under the umbrella of an investment bank, you've got an investment banker. So they originate. So they either can make their money from advising companies or by actually raising money. So you'll see tombstones oftentimes in financial offices. And this shows the money they raise in the debt or equity market, and they usually get a percentage of that. On the debt side, they get a lower percentage because it's more liquid market, arguably. So they usually got paid about 25 to the highest I saw was 75 basis points. With equity, because they're taking more risk, because they're the underwriters, then oftentimes they got paid up to 5% of the whole issue. Now, I was a wee capital markets associate, so that's some research in economics. I was part of the three-legged stool. My job was to come up with the ideas. I follow publicly traded companies. I was a special situations analyst, which was code for I follow those companies that no one else did. They're usually small cap companies. And so my typical day is I come in at 7 o'clock, go to the morning meeting, bring up our ideas or talk about the latest quarterly earnings. The salespeople will then take that morning meeting and talk to the money managers, try to generate some ideas, and ultimately they wanted to get their trades done through the trader. So the three-legged stool: research, sales, trading. We got paid based on a commission basis. Now the big thing you have to understand is the different culture. In this, you've got 80 hours per week on one axis. On the other one, you've got intensity, low, medium, high. So IB stands for investment banking. Their long weeks usually start at 9:30, just before the market opened. And oftentimes you work 7 days a week, and that includes Saturdays, Sundays. So you start at 9:30, oftentimes they would go until midnight. The good news is it was low intensity, but high hours. So even though they paid you $80,000 a year, sounded like a lot of money, you're doing the equivalent of 2 jobs. So it's a lot of hours. On the flip side, it's a trader. It's only 40 hours, but very high intensity. Oftentimes the trader couldn't leave the trading floor. Their day started with the morning meeting at 7 a.m. Once the market closed at 4 p.m., oftentimes they clean up and they were out of there by about 4:30. Good news, it was only a week long, but very, very intense. I was on the equity research side, right in the middle. So we were doing about 60-hour weeks, medium intensity. Our most intense time was during quarterly earnings season. It was the easiest way to go across from the equity research to the portfolio manager side. So from the sell side to the buy side. When I came into the business, it was the first time where you didn't get your experience in insurance companies. They had outsourced to the sell side. And so I had to get my experience on the sell side in order to get to the buy side. Job descriptions. If you are applying for jobs, and this is what the Futures Atlantic Symposium, we have different jobs available. If you're undergrad and you're applying for investment banker, you apply for analyst position. If you're a master's, a business student, or a master's or graduate student, it's associate. Generally speaking, it took 3 years to be promoted to each one of these levels. You started off as analyst in undergrad or associate as a grad student. 3 years later, then you're a vice president, then you become director, and then the ultimate is managing director. I was on the equity research side, so I started off as a wee little associate, and if I had stayed there 3 to 5 years, then oftentimes what happens is you get your CFA charter, you complete that, you have comfort with not only dealing with the companies, but dealing with your clients, and you're usually 3 to 5 years out, and then you come out with your seminal research report. The sell side, you had a salary plus a bonus based on either money raised, if you're on the investment banking side. On my side, it was based on commissions, depending on how many trades were made based on the ideas you made. The big thing to realize after the crash in 2008, you usually were paid only once a year. And here's the trick. Because Canadian banks have an October 31st year end, they paid most of their bonuses in December. The day after the bonuses, or the day they got their bonuses, that's when people oftentimes would quit. That's when we would show up in Toronto trying to see if we could get our foot in the door. On the buy side, you had a salary, but then oftentimes you had a 1-year bonus or a 4-year bonus, rolling bonus. If you are a publicly traded asset management firm, you might also have equity incentives. Now, on my side, I was involved with a government pension plan or asset management fund. So our year end was March, and we usually got paid our bonuses in June. Understand, these bonuses can often be the same amount as your salary, if not double your salary. So the bonuses were a very big deal. On this side, we're showing job mapping. What we took a look at is all the characteristics necessary in the sell side and buy side of the business. This is all sell side. So you look at modeling, self-starter, MBA, CA, CFA was common, industry work experience was useful, detail-oriented, a must, work ethic, written or oral skills, passion for investing. These are all necessary if you're a research associate or equity analyst, or you notice on the investment banking side. Now, as you got into institutional equity sales, you needed more of the passion for investing, interpersonal skills. The trader, you needed more street smarts. And then you got the equity capital markets. So those are different jobs. What we did was we tried to focus on those characteristics the students needed, as we always felt we needed to be 2 to 5 years ahead of any other university graduates if we wanted to get our foot in the door. On the buy side, you had the same characteristics, but you'll notice you've now got private equity or venture capitalist, portfolio manager, or hedge fund manager. The big thing to realize is how you move from one to the other outside of the skill sets that were important. Now, here's the big thing, escape plans. If you go into investment banking or have an investment banking job, I was always telling my students, at least stay there for 2 years to show that you're competent. Ideally, you wanted to get promoted. But if you didn't like the 80-hour work weeks, the trick is to escape, either go to the companies or the governments actually raise the money. You may be able to go to the private equity side, but the big trick is you cannot go to the buy side because you're not current on the markets. If you're on the equity research side, then it is easier to go to the buy side. And that's why I went to the equity research side. The buy side, the truth of the matter is once you get in there, often you only have one chance to prove yourself. And if you're no good, you're out the door. And if you are productive, then oftentimes people would start their own firms. Now, rocking the boat from book to podcast, the book that I'm getting ready to write, and it's going to be finished hopefully by September 2021. It's all about how to get your foot in the investment business door. So does it still apply today, is what you're going to ask? Is it based on 2008? That's why we're supplementing this with Financial Fridays, right? Interview investment graduates to see, do these theories, do these ideas, do these characteristics still apply today? So we're going to talk to Ken Fox and others who have graduated from the program. He actually got his job opportunity through the Futures Atlantic Symposium, so he's going to talk to us about the investment banking side. On the capital markets associate side or equity research side, we'll probably talk to Dustin Bisau or Brian Bagnall. On the buy side, we'll talk to Sue Boucher, who is a global bond manager. We'll talk to private equity managers, Jabran Hamid, Justin Lord, and the like. And then we'll talk to those people that were on the investment banking and decided they wanted to go back to corporate finance because they wanted to have more of a life. So here you've got Faber Omana, graduated from Harvard Business School, did investment banking at Peters & Co., then got up to vice president at Goldman Sachs. He's now senior VP at Shaw Communications. He's an example of how you can escape from the 80-hour work weeks if you don't no longer like those. So there you have it. That's the long and the short of it. For the buy side versus the sell side of the street. So buy side has the money, sell side needs the money. Who brings them together? But investment banking firms. And so that's the long and the short of it. Remember to work hard, play hard. That's the nature of this business. And remember, for those SIF graduates looking in, remember what my inspiration was. I carried this card in my wallet. Won't matter 100 years from now what amount of money you had in your bank account, what kind of car you drove, or what kind of house you lived in, but you might make a difference in a young person's life. So don't forget to give back. So cheers, and keep following us on Financial Fridays.